Mila Falcher. Welcome to Irish Granny Helen. And welcome to my dear friend, returning guest, Michelle Marie from Astrological Tarot. Did I get that right?
You
I'm
did.
always I get performance anxiety that I'm going to name people's channels wrong. Isn't that funny? It's just like a phobia.
Oh, well, I mean, it's part of my name at the bottom, and I can always just chime in. It's not a big deal.
Okay, yeah, probably I should just say introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'm Michelle Marie. I am the owner and operator of Astrological Tarot. I am both a Vedic and Western astrologer, as well as a tarot and oracle card reader. I'm well versed in Vedic remedies, and it's very much like Gnostic after speaking with Helen.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love what I'm doing. And we were just talking about, empaths and narcissists before the show and everything going on in the AI world. And I'm really excited for this discussion.
That was excellent. You did a very good job. A plus. I couldn't have done it. Okay, so today I asked Michelle to join me because I want to make her part of my ongoing debate with everybody that I can stop and get to engage with me about the relative destruction of the world by AI. I don't have a point of view, do I? and I especially wanted to hear your take on it because I really don't know anybody else who is as well versed in Vedic astrology as you are. And I'm really curious to see what that says about AI, if anything, which I'm sure it does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have an ongoing battle with a number of different people, different aspects of things that bother me about AI. And people who watch my channel have heard me rant and rave, so I don't need to go into too much detail. We'll get into it, but I'm curious what your personal take is.
Well, I have an intellectual and an intuitive because astrology is all about history, but it's also, tapping into our intuition as well. But there's a great AI disruption going on. We're at the same space astrologically as we were when the World Wide Web started. So this is the new internet. This is going to be a new way of thinking and being. It's a new era for Jupiter as well. And with Rahu, who's the North Node in Aquarius, now entering Capricorn, we're heading into 2008 territory. So it's going to be a grand reset. And so that's from the kind of the Vedic astrology perspective. And I love today's topic because it affects every single one of us on the planet. It's going to take other countries more time to catch up because they haven't gone through their Pluto returns or Yama returns like los Estados Unidos, the United States. But regardless of our profession, age, nationality, or spiritual path, it's going to affect us all. So we are witnessing a historic transformation unlike anything humanity's experienced before. Like I said, it is kind of like the age of the internet. But just to give you guys some background, speaking of the internet, my husband and I, we worked as contractors and certified partners for Google. And I started working full time in 2013. And because of this, I do have a unique perspective on the future of AI and its impact and how we can navigate the future because I'm in a lot of special interest groups
Mm-hmm.
and, things like that where
Insider, yeah.
Exactly. And I have people that have been working in the industry for a long time. Just we like to talk. We like to talk. So let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence is rapidly changing the nature of work. That's the number one thing that
Mm-hmm.
people are talking about. Entire industries are being disrupted, and entry-level positions are just going to disappear. Okay, so that's because corporate structures are changing. And this is what I'm getting from the inside. This isn't me just going, oh, no, this is just what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, from the Vedic astrology perspective, because you asked about that, we're entering
Mm-hmm.
one of the most significant transitional periods in a century. So the planetary alignments reflect exactly what we see unfolding in the world. We're undergoing the Pluto return for most of the Western world. Like the European colonization was one, when all of the countries started to gain their autonomy, like 1776. That was another one.
And the French Revolution, and
The French
yeah,
Revolution,
right.
that would be exactly, you're tapped right into the history. So the old systems are dying to make new for the new world order. Those new systems are now they'll be born once everything's destroyed. And whenever this happens, humanity experiences fear, resistance, chaos, uncertainty, and eventually transformation. And I want to help you guys understand what AI means for the future of employment and which industries are most vulnerable, which skills are becoming more valuable. And what Vedic astrology says about this transition, because Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, you guys know who Jupiter and Saturn are. Rahu and Ketu are the nodes who cause eclipses. They're shaping humanity's future. And we pay attention to that as astrologers because that kind of tells us timing as well as what we can expect and how we can prepare, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and professionally for the coming decade. Because a lot of people are talking about technology, but very few people are talking about the meaning behind it. I love that you said at the beginning of the show, a lot of people don't really understand the bigger picture.
Yeah,
So
I'm eager to hear what you have to say about the employment, because I think
yeah,
that's a huge thing. But that's part of a much larger ethical question that
mhm.
is not really being talked about. But keep going, because you know the inside scoop about what it's going to do to jobs.
Well, I think that meaning is going to become the most valuable commodity at all because we're looking at the collapse of the old career ladder. So recently, there have been several major industries, AI researchers, CEOs, and journalists have been discussing a very disturbing trend, especially in these chat rooms that we have as professionals. They're reporting a significant decline in entry level hiring. That's like Anthropic's research, for example, suggests that there are a lot of white collar professions that are already experiencing the disruption. People are not getting hired. So Gen Zs are graduating from college and going, where's the work? Millennials went through this too, but we went through it in 2008 because they collapsed the middle class. That was fun. But the most vulnerable areas, so I'm just going to lay them out: administrative work, finance, legal support, data analysis, marketing, coding, media production, content creation, and customer service. All things I used to do. So
And I don't, the only thing I know anything about is customer service, only
yeah.
because I've been a customer.
Mm-hmm.
I probably couldn't even tell you what most of those jobs do.
Yeah.
What they
I
entail.
can. I worked in them. So I mean, it was hilarious because I was a middle class. I taught communication arts and journalism in high school. And when 2008 hit, they laid off half the teachers in our building. I managed to keep my job for a couple of years because I hadn't hit full tenure yet. But once I hit that, they were like, "You're expensive, leave." So the traditional career ladder disappeared for a lot of what we call Zennials, because I'm between Gen X and the millennial generation.
So like
Um,
what time period is that?
that is from 1978 until 1985. They call those the
Okay.
Zennials
Okay.
because we entered the workforce as new people as soon as 2008 happened. I'm talking about like white collar work and middle class work. And so Obama gets elected and Mitch McConnell comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to make him a one-term president." And I'm like, "Oh no." And so I told all of my teachers, "Look, I am I'm very open to perspectives and education. I mean, I'm teaching public school for a reason. I'm a nurse. I worked as a nurse for a reason, but I believe them. So I voted for John McCain because he was going to work with Biden. He was going to work with Democratic senators to make sure that the middle class didn't collapse. Because Obama is what we call Abhijit, he's unconquerable, and his Jupiter is there, and he was in Jupiter Mahadasha. There was no one that was going to beat him. I didn't know that at the time because I was only studying Western astrology. Now that I'm a Vedic astrologer, I can see why he won. He was great for international relations. He made the United States look like Golden City on a hill, but wasn't great for the economy because the Republicans did not support his tenure or his background and other things. So it destroyed the middle class, in my opinion, because the corporate heads and oligarchs, et cetera, did not like this. They did not want to
Well,
see a
didn't
progressive.
start with him.
It
It
did
didn't
not.
start
No, he was
because of
just kind
him.
of the tipping point because we never had a black president before. We've
Yeah.
never had someone who projected progressive ideals, even though he was very much a corporate Democrat.
Oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
said that well. That always bothered me. You know, the first time I ever heard of him was the night that he gave the speech at the Democratic National
Mhm.
Convention. And it was Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea who he was. I just sort of walked in at the
He was
beginning of
brand
the
new.
speech. And I listened to that speech and I said to my husband, he's going to be president.
Yeah.
And my husband said, oh, he's not running. I said, oh, that doesn't matter. He's going to be president.
Yeah.
I never doubted that would
Mhm.
happen because it seemed
The
fated.
charisma. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, more than that, though, there was
Mhm.
something more than that. And I think you
Mhm.
explained it in astrological terms.
Yes. That was Abhijit. That was unconquerable. It's the pole star. Jesus was born under the pole star. You can't fight that, you know. So that's that giant North Star in the sky. Jupiter was in direct alignment with that at his birth. It's very few degrees in the chart. Very few people have it. But when they have it and it's activated, all the planets go hands off. Everything this person wants to do is open season. This is how it can be used negatively. Charles Manson had his Venus in it, and he could control them.
Wow. Who
And
else?
Venus,
Who else?
yeah.
Can I try
Oh
guess?
God, I'd have to look at. I can go into all the Abhijits. Like just to give you an example, my husband's former partner, we took care of her when she had cancer. She died on an Abhijit moon. I was jumping up and down. Like I was so excited because I'm like, she's going to come back and she's just going to kick butt, because this is a woman who did everything she could for the tribes. And so it was just like, it was like a celebration knowing that she, like all of the good dharma that she did in past lives was now accumulating for her.
It's like a sign to you.
Yeah. So the reason why the planets are hands off, including Shani, Saturn, the karmic teacher, is because these people had done such good work in past lives for the collective that the planets go, we're just going to let them do whatever they want during this Mahadasha. And every planet has a different, Mahadashas are timing periods. Like Ketu is 7 years. The sun is 6 years. Jupiter is 17 years. Saturn is 19 years. Venus is 20 years. And they all have different periods of time. And during that Mahadasha and certain subdashas, which is secondary to the Mahadasha, that's when you can see the power come through. His was in Jupiter. He won the presidency during Jupiter. So Jupiter, Mahadasha and subdasha. He was unconquerable.
So we're not talking, you have to be born in December. It's got to do with other planets.
No, it has to do with what planet is in direct alignment with what's called basically the pole star. It's called Abhijit. It's a magical star, you know.
Fully ignorant of astrology.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
It's itty bitty little spot in the sky. So
you decided that if you could not support him, you might be able to help contribute to saving the middle class. I hear what you're saying.
And my friends didn't understand me. They're like, we didn't know you were racist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? In that box. Like, I mean, seriously, like before coming to work here, which was a rural area, I worked in the inner city. Like, please don't put in there. Like, but we just don't understand where you're coming from. And I'm like, I'm thinking economically. I was raised in a military conservative Republican household, Catholic. Yikes. And so I know all of the capitals for conservatism. And I respect the movement in certain terms. Like I like the McCain family. They were kicked out of the Republican Party for a reason, because they actually believe in some principles that have to do with certain things. But especially compared to what's coming out now, they ought
to be canonized compared.
Yeah, like for instance, John McCain like dressed as a woman and marched in the gay pride festival. He was very, very socially forward. And I just saw that as a bridge needs to be made. And as much as Obama was very, how do I say this, charismatic, he had that verve, you know, he made us look really great internationally. What really made me go, you know what, I was right, was when he went to Detroit. And this was after, it was, I think, GMC.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay, what am I going to say?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So they rerouted the main river in Michigan to from away from the neighborhoods and into the car manufacturing sector, because they got paid to do it. And the people were basically getting horrible cancer-ridden polluted water, to the point where, like, I don't know if you remember this is like early YouTube days and early Facebook days. People were taking photos of turning on their faucets and putting lighters next to them, and they were lighting on fire.
No, because I didn't really even have a computer.
Okay, I joined Facebook in 2004.
I knew what was going on. Oh no, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew, yeah.
Yeah, so I was watching this because I was still in college, and I was part of the Facebook in 2003 because it was just for college students. And so I'm like at the very beginning of this millennial age. And so I'm paying attention to this. And so he goes down to Detroit, and I'm thinking, I really hope he can help fix the water situation, because at least he socially kind of understands middle class values. No, he didn't. He took a glass of water and said, this is perfectly safe. And I'll never forget this. It was an older Black woman in the audience said, "Oh my God, Mr. President, don't drink it. It'll kill you." And you could hear the worry in her voice. You could hear the shrieking.
I
And
remember.
he drank it. And you know that water was fake. And I went, corporate Democrat. Corporate Democrat. And he did this in a full room of ostracized African Americans that just, they looked at him with so much hope in their eyes, and he was bought at that
He
point.
lied. It was a party trick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go back to the fact that,
but that was the
we
reason
can
I bring
forever.
2008 up is because that's part of the energy we're moving into. That's why I tell people, watch your money.
Yeah, the impact of AI on employment is intentionally devastating. We're going to talk about that.
The career ladder is disappearing. Historically, people, they start at the bottom. We learn, we gain experience, we move up, and eventually they become managers and directors and executives and experts, and if they're really good business owners. And what happens if AI removes the bottom rungs of that ladder? You know, how does someone gain expertise if there are fewer opportunities to learn? So this is becoming one of the most important questions facing our modern society. A lot of professionals are already experiencing this firsthand. My husband worked in law as well as technology, and he's seeing this. He goes, "There's interns are gone. Like everything, all the research, all the stuff is being done by AI." So the job searchers are taking longer. I actually follow a lot of Gen Z influencers on YouTube, especially women, because they dominate the market right now, believe it or
They're
not.
talking about not being able to find a job. I've seen those.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like they'll take 2 or 3 jobs on, work from home, or they have to spread themselves thin. And this happened after 2008 for a lot of the millennials. And so there's a lot of increased competition. Companies are hiring fewer people, and they're expecting a ton more productivity. I mean, when I lost my teaching job, I was working 3 jobs after that, and I was barely paying the bills. And I was also going through some other stuff with my ex. But the main thing behind that was that organizations were deflecting a lot of the workforce into other areas, and organizations now are choosing AI because it's good enough. It's not, the middle and working class cannot be replaced by AI, but because they're looking at the numbers instead of people and the productivity, it's not better yet. It's not ready. I mean, if you look at AI from the data researcher's perspective, from the programmer's perspective, which is what my husband and I did, it's a baby. It is not ready to take on adult jobs yet. It can do a lot, but it can't replace humans yet. It's not even close. But because it's cheaper, that distinction matters when it comes to the job market.
Well, I think that's the only thing that matters. And I think that what we really need to talk about is not the individual areas where it's going to do damage, but the impetus behind that. And it's an ideology.
Yes.
AI is not a thing. It's an ideology.
Yeah.
And the ideology is that people are replaceable. It's dehumanizing. It puts profit and greed ahead of all considerations. It's driven by these monsters from Silicon Valley.
They're very Machiavellian. Yeah.
Well, they're monsters. Yeah. And they're many of them, most of them are devotees of Curtis Yarvin. And Curtis Yarvin is this guy who classifies himself and presents himself as a philosopher, but it's half-baked nonsense. It boils down to advocating for a monarchy, a corporate monarchy, answerable to a board, a self-appointed board, and then the rest of the people. And they don't care how little is available for the rest of the people to have any kind of quality of life. So here's the argument that I have all the time with a friend of mine. And his argument is, yeah, but look at all the good that AI is going to be able to do for example, healthcare. And my response to that is, healthcare for whom? Because no one's going to have money to pay for it. Nobody is going to have access to it except for the elite of the elite of the elite. So yes, things will be invented and things will be available, but only for a rarefied few, 1% of the top 1%. And the rest of us can die because, I hate to say it, but that's the goal. That is the goal.
And that's why China is going to be the next superpower, because they're taking AI and they're putting it into their middle class and their infrastructure. And the United States is going, die. We don't care about you.
That's right. And they're eugenicists. That's the other thing to remember. They are politically or governmentally, they're looking for a feudal system where they're on top. Morally, they're nihilists. And then as far as scientifically or biologically, I'm not sure how I would categorize it, they're eugenicists. And, you know, let me give you an example. Bill Gates' father, massive eugenicist.
Really?
Yeah. Elon Musk's entire family, his grandfather moved the family from Canada to South Africa because, you know, apartheid, that looked good.
I watched the 60 Minutes on Elon Musk. That was fascinating. Yeah.
Was that recently?
Oh, it was a few years ago.
Oh.
But yeah, but they interviewed his ex-wives. They went through the whole thing. It was they even interviewed his father. It was fascinating. The Nazi rhetoric was very interesting. Like when they said to him, because his father's originally South African, right? And they literally said to him, you know, what do you think about slavery and this, that, and the other, and apartheid? And he goes, I don't know why they're complaining. We fed them. Well, what do you mean? We fed them. We allowed them to breed. They should be grateful to us. And I'm just oh, so the fact that you treated them like farm animals, and he's just like, yeah, we let them breed and we fed them. And I'm just like, that just really opened up the doors to like how people are seen in these spheres. You know, it's like we allow them to breed and eat.
Well, you know, they invented concentration camps over there against the Boers, you know, the English did. And then they perfected it on the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah. It's happening in the United States right now. I live in Mexico and they're talking about it here. So
it's terrifying. Well, anyway, back to AI. I think the Pope got it right. And I can't believe that I have been like the Pope's biggest cheerleader the past few months.
Yeah.
The irony of that, nobody will fully understand the irony of that because I'm a survivor of Catholicism, and I still think it's the most misogynistic organization in the world. But it's making some strides in some areas. And the very fact that the Pope has his first encyclicals are big. They're like State of the Union addresses on steroids because they describe the direction of the Pope's whole, I won't say reign, his whole life, work for the rest of his life, right? Because they do it supposedly until death. I just think he's so correct when he says that it's the dehumanization that's the problem. You cannot replace people with algorithms and computers. You can take away work, but you're not replacing the imagination and the moral compass and the creativity and the one-on-one, the empathy. And you will never be able to put that into a robot. You can mimic it, but it's not truly felt. It's not real, you know. And I'm very concerned. As an older person, I feel like we are entering what would have been considered a science fiction story when I was a child, not even that young, you know. This is like a Ray Bradbury novel, or
it's Heinlein, it's Bradbury, it's all the greats. I believe that these guys are. This is just my opinion. I believe they're oracles. I believe that they can tell the future. I really do. Like
Margaret Atwood, you know, a lot of
that's exactly what I was gonna say. And if you've read Heinlein's Revolt in 2100, it's about a religious theocracy where the head king wants his seed spread among all of the maidens, and it's just all behind this. Oh, it's so what I see planned out. It's very interesting.
Well, let me tell you something about Margaret Atwood. So everybody knows *Handmaid's Tale*.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, she came out with the sequel, The Testaments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an excellent book. They've just made a show of it. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been watching it, and it's very good. But as most shows, they don't translate entirely. You have to read the book, right? What a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't know about her fans know this, but, just people who only know from The Handmaid's Tale, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
She wrote a series of books about a weird combination of environmental degradation and genetic experimentation.
Yes. Baby
Oryx
farm.
and Crake was, I think, the first one. But what happens when these hybridized monsters escape from a laboratory, and there's environmental degradation as a result, but there's also the presence of these unpredictable genetic experiments running around. Really good, really good. Yeah, she is prescient. I think she's a prophet.
Yeah, I believe so too. And if you look at the kid version, it would be like Marvel Comics. It's been out there for a while. But Saturn is going to bring us a reality check. So that's the good thing, because he rules workers and the working class and things like that. So from a Vedic perspective, this is Saturn's domain. And he's on the Pisces Virgo axis right now. This is the sidereal calculation, the actual math in the sky. Pisces rules spirituality, hospitals, large institutions, governments, places of worships, asylums, hidden things, and water-related travel.
These are all the issues that are being threatened by AI.
Yeah, and that's where Saturn is right now. And so he's pointing them out. He's going, hey, pull off those rose-colored glasses and take a look at what's actually happening behind the scenes, because guess what? He's opposite. Saturn is for the people. Sun, enemy, is for kings. Now, that's how Saturn, and they're very, they don't get
oppositional
along. Yeah, they're oppositional. Yeah, and there's a whole story behind it in the Vedic philosophy. But Virgo represents bureaucracy, the fence menders, the bean counters, the paper pushers. And the last time Saturn was on this axis was 30 years ago when the internet exploded. So Saturn governs labor, work, discipline, karma, structure in our economic systems. And he strips away what is inefficient, but he forces us all to see reality, the collective. And so right now, Saturn in Pisces is dissolving any assumptions humanity has held for decades. If I get a degree, I'll be secure. Saturn says, not necessarily. Many believed, if I work hard, my job will always exist. And then Saturn says, everything changes. Look. Many believed, my profession will remain valuable forever. I figured, I'm a nurse and a teacher. Who's going to want to get rid of nurses and teachers? That's hands-on. That's empathy. That's person. And these guys are going, no, we want robots. When Melania walked down the hall with that robot and said, this is the future of teachers and education. And I just went.
Did that give you the chills?
As a master in education, yeah. As someone who,
as a human being,
devoted all of her brain to making sure that education was supported in our middle class economy at the time. Yeah. But
have you been watching the people on YouTube who are teachers who are quitting in droves because of the something is wrong with the emotional stability of kids. They're zombified, and it's if it were just one or two people making those videos, but it's hours and hours of them. I watch them until I'm so depressed I can't stand it. Children who, let me put it this way. When I was a kid, I sound like I'm 1,000 years old. When I was a kid,
you might as well be, because I feel 1,000 years old, because we actually opened books and read them.
Well, when you went into a classroom,
we had cards. Yeah,
you went in and you sat down at your desk, and you
there
understood that you didn't talk in the middle of class, and if you did, you got in trouble. I was always in trouble for talking to other people. I could never understand. When I was really little, I could never understand. Well, why am I not supposed to talk to my friends? It just made no sense, right? But there was a degree of decorum that was just understood.
Yeah.
So when the teacher said, pull out your book and turn to page 50, You did it. Oh, you
Hmm.
didn't even think about it. These kids are like, oh, book. It's just so weird.
It
And the
is.
teachers are disheartened and frustrated and really scared. What area will survive all of this?
Well, it's important to know that nothing material is going to be permanent, and this isn't a punishment, it is an evolution. But evolution rarely feels comfortable while it's happening. So that brings us to Saturn representing reality and Rahu representing this obsession that the oligarchs have. Rahu's the North Node. He represents unchecked ambition, a need for power, and he can get us into trouble if we're not careful with his transits and dashas. So it's important to look at where the North Node is in your chart. For me, it's on my ascendant in Mrigashira, which is the seeking star, which is like we're constantly researching stuff. So I can overly research things. I'm like
Oh,
constantly.
I've noticed.
Yeah, yeah. And so for me, it's like
Great.
a constant quest for knowledge. I'm a collector, you know. Like the hardest thing for me when I left the United States, it wasn't like material. Like I just gave jewelry away, you know, for me in like valuables and things like that. But for me, it was my books, you know. It was like
Oh, don't even
putting
tell.
that
I
all my notes and
know.
oh my gosh, Helen, it was so hard to get rid of my
Yeah.
library, you
Yeah.
know. That's where you know you're obsessed. So that's what Rahu represents, right? And so he's exalted in Aquarius right now, and that's the sign of innovation. And because he loves to delve into that with reckless abandonment, he governs technology, innovation, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. Those are the things you can rely on right now. You're going to have to be like at the top of your game, at the top of the ladder. And that's why I said all of these entry level positions are just gone because you already have to be an expert in tech to keep anything going. And so that's going to cause some disruption, a lot of foreign influences coming in, but it'll make room for scientific breakthroughs because Rahu constantly pushes humanity toward the future. He has no brakes. He's like pedal to the metal. And that's
Yeah,
what a
but if
lot
you
of these
can't
oligarchs
feed your
have.
children or pay your rent,
Nope.
why would you even care? You know what they've done is they have this is all the steps that have been taken serve the same goal to
Hmm.
dehumanize, marginalize, and eventually eliminate humanity. So, and
Yeah.
that sounds dramatic, but hey,
Oh,
my
no, but
predictions.
if you actually look at the interviews, you are correct.
No, I know that.
Peter
I
Thiel
know.
was in an interview and he goes, do you think that the propagation of humanity is essential or is important? And he goes, and he goes, no, I really need you to answer this question. And he goes, not really.
Yeah. So,
And I,
so here's my example of how they're doing it in increments,
yeah.
kind of through the side door. So maybe you won't notice. Maybe you will, but maybe you won't.
Yeah.
So the federal government just passed a law that it's no longer legal to camp within a certain distance from or actually on Bureau of Land Management land. That used to be open in
Hmm.
most places. You could go online, you could look it up, and you could go,
Yeah.
you could park your RV overnight.
Yeah. I used to be homeless. I know.
Okay, okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
And while they're doing that, they have encouraged local laws, local municipalities to change
Hmm.
their local laws. So your little town or village will make it against the law to not have an address, a permanent address, or
That's
and
why we
post
couldn't vote.
yeah, post office box
Yeah.
doesn't count.
Hmm.
Or against the law to sleep in a vehicle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
RVs count, or against the law to
Yeah.
park and sleep outside, or just put a tent someplace and sleep outside. So
Hmm.
you go to the county, and now they're making county laws in the same vein. So essentially, what they're doing incrementally, starting in the small jurisdictions and moving outward, they're making it against the law to be homeless. And then they're coming down from the federal heights and making it a federal case, a federal felony. And
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, these are felonies. These are not just a ticket. In some places, you get a ticket, and if you get X number of tickets, let's just say 3,
Hmm.
then it becomes a matter for arrest and confiscation of your vehicle. And
And you know what they do to the people, right? The Gen Zers are like screaming this from the mountaintops on TikTok. They're
gulags.
disappearing people. They're going into the same concentration camps as
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
illegals, with green cards and
Right.
reasons to be here.
Yeah.
They're literally putting them in work camps and working them to death.
Well, Utah volunteered. They volunteered to
Mm-hmm.
do this gigantic 8,000 plus capacity detention center for the
Yeah.
homeless. They have a few beds for mental health treatment, and the rest is for people who need to get back on their feet, but they have nowhere to live. They have no permanent address. And once you're taken into custody
You
and put in
disappear.
there, you have to work to pay for your food and your room and board.
Just like El Salvador.
That's right. And it's you can't get out. It's like a lot of different incarceration models. What would be a good example? The company store in a coal mining town. You can never
yes,
get
and they have their
ahead.
own notes.
Yeah.
In
You
their
can
own
never get
currency.
ahead. They're always overcharging you. They're paying you 1 cent, and they're charging 25.
And then the coal miner widow, she has to marry somebody else. Otherwise, she and the kids get basically driven to the outside of town with nothing.
Right. Well, these people don't get out, and they're being given substandard living conditions from all aspects: food, clothing,
they're
bedding,
sleeping on metal cots, like on top of each other. They're being treated like the criminals of El Salvador. And here's the thing, I am all about taking out MS-13 and criminality and all of those things. Again, I was raised in the military. I do have conservative values when it comes to crime, but this is literally kidnapping innocent people that are being relocated and displaced because of the changing economy, and then turning them into slaves and then putting them through a system that not a lot of people survive.
And it's actually an American kind of subculture that has always existed.
Yes.
That people take to the road and live off the grid. It didn't used to be called that, but they live independently.
I did that, yeah.
And Mark Twain did it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of famous, Steinbeck did it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of famous people. Yeah. And I mean, I personally wouldn't want to do it, but I defend people's right to make that choice. Well, and they're not criminal.
No, I wasn't a criminal. I was working full time, but I couldn't afford rent.
That's right.
So it was something that I could do. And then when I realized that was more expensive than moving to another country and actually traveling from country to country, I went, what am I doing? I'll just stay light and move from country to country and keep doing what I'm doing. So when you find out that the entire system has no brakes, I mean, Rahu's basically, he's not asking, should we? He's like, can we? And these guys are looking at each other going, yeah, we can. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. Technology companies are racing against each other, and governments are racing against competitors. And the result is that nations are now racing against nations, but not all nations see their populace as cogs in a wheel, so to speak. And that's not taking place. Like, for instance, Mexico's about 30 years out from its Yama return. So they got 30 more years of humanity here. And so I look at these things to determine which countries I can go to where there's still a little bit of humanity left, family values, like people that actually care about each other and their communities. And that's here. There are other countries where that's taking place too. But the United States got hit hard because Rahu always creates these unintended consequences. I mean, always, because he's Mr. Ambition. So every major technological revolution has produced both blessings and a ton of suffering, like the internet that connected the world, but it also increased isolation, social media. It connected billions of us, but it also increased a lot of anxiety, a lot of comparison, a lot of division. And now AI, because I mentioned the internet because that was the last time we saw kind of this push in the mid 90s. Now, AI promises productivity and abundance, but it simultaneously produces unemployment, inequality, and existential uncertainty. And this is just classic Rahu. That's the North Node coming through. And it just happens to be directly on my moon, which is why I tend to follow these trends, and I work in technology and I follow it. But we do have some hope coming our way, Helen, and that's Jupiter. Jupiter has currently just entered Cancer, and that was on June 1st or 2nd, depending on where in the world you're joining us. And then he'll eventually be going back and forth into Leo. The last time this happened was 2008 energy. So I tell people, watch your money, watch your inheritances, watch things that you really rely on, like Social Security, because we're entering a period where humanity is going to have to rediscover wisdom. And not information, but actual wisdom, because information is becoming abundant, and AI can provide that information instantly, but wisdom is going to become more and more rare, because wisdom requires experience, it requires discernment, it requires ethics, it requires compassion, and it requires judgment. And those are things that are going to make us sages, Helen, because we grew up in a time where we had to develop those things. And these poor kids, iPad kids, aren't going to get that because they're removing it from the culture.
Well, and the part that I see, it's very easy to identify, and it's so disturbing, is that you have a whole couple of generations now that have been conditioned to want everything instantly with as little effort as possible. Assign them an essay, and it's a matter of pushing a couple of buttons. They're not internalizing the knowledge. They're not looking for it themselves. They're not assimilating it into their brains, and then they can't parrot it back out. That's the final step in knowing something. You have to be able to read it, understand it, assimilate it, but then you also have to be able to repeat it. And if you can't repeat it out loud, you don't really know. I was a biology major in school, and let me tell you, that was an uphill battle.
I was a minor.
Oh Yay. My God. I get cold chills. But I cannot tell you.
COVID must have been fun for you because you could actually see the science behind it, right?
Yeah. I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I would sit on my dorm room bed and recite my notes by heart. And if I could do that, then I could take a test, because then I knew that it was organized in my brain. And I always thought that that was kind of a cheat. I really did. I didn't understand. I actually now have been reading that that's the final step in really knowing that you've processed it and digested it. You have to be able to spit it back out. You have to understand it, but if you could spit it back out. And these kids are skipping all of the hard parts that actually solidify it and make the brain connections. And, and I feel sorry for them. They are not writing. They don't know how to write. No. I saw some really disturbing little videos of kids being handed a couple of sentences. These are high school kids. Read this out loud.
I taught it.
And they can't even pronounce words phonetically. Not only do they not know them, they don't know what they mean, they can't pronounce them, and they don't know how to even start to pronounce them.
And that's how they want them, because they don't want critical thinking. They want AI to do the critical thinking. That's why I mentioned all of those jobs that used to make up the middle class, the entry-level positions, as we call them now. They're being eradicated, and so they don't need them anymore. And so they're discarding that. And that's what happens when governments get, how do I say this, infiltrated by corporate greed.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
And it's on both sides of the aisle. And that's what I tell people, like, this is not political, this is moral.
It's moral.
So, look for people that are, because there are some Republicans, there are a lot of progressives, and there are some Democrats, few, unfortunately, fewer than we'd like, that are totally in on the what's going on, and they're tuned in, but they're so few because they can all be bought.
I had a real existential moment of self-doubt when Eric Swalwell went down.
Oh, it was awful. So gross.
Because I thought, okay, so I really liked him. I thought he was genuine.
And you find out he's raping his interns and his employees.
I could be fooled like anybody else can be fooled. I don't trust myself to trust anybody. Isn't that terrible? I've just completely lost all, you know what I'm saying.
I'm in Mexico, honey. I'm out of the country. Our right to vote was taken away by a Democrat. because I was in what's called an address confidentiality program. And I'm like, I'm not giving you my physical address because I'm part of this program. And they're like, well, we don't send voting ballots to PO boxes. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm part of a special state program and you have to send my ballot here. And they said, no, we don't. And it was a Democrat that did this, took away my ability to vote in the last 2 elections. And I just went, why am I even living in this country?
Why? Yeah. I'm not getting any benefit from it. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have a voice. I'm not going to be here. Yeah.
So tell me where I'm off base here, because I spend a lot of time not contemplating revenge per se, but trying to figure out a way to not participate that will make an impact. And I've been telling my friends this, and they all think I'm stupid because, well, stupid's the wrong word, foolish, naive, because this is a runaway train. AI, you're not going to stop it, you know?
That's Rahu. Yeah.
And my feeling about it is I'm not going to participate. I took it off my phone. They offer it to me every day. Every single day they try to sneak it in. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I wiped all my histories, and I went through a whole thing, which was interesting. But I don't want to participate in it. So, for example, when I go to the doctor and they pull out their tablet, I always say something like, you know, maybe we could just talk one-on-one. You know, you're not talking to them. I've been to doctors that never look at me. You know, they're looking at the screen the whole time. And then, you know, the next hour you get home, there's an email, a message. Please interact with our patient online chart. Yeah. And I never do. I always ignore it. And they try for like a couple of months. I'll get a message every couple of days. And eventually they give up in disgust, you know.
The reason you're feeling anxiety about that is you had 6 children. And so
5.
Imagine what a woman on
don't give me that much credit.
Like. A woman in her 20s and 30s, and they're monitoring her periods. Think about Margaret Atwood there, you know.
No, I know. It's very scary. And, you know, I've been talking for a long time about the fact that theocracy and technocracy are neck and neck, and they're working side by side, but they don't like each other. They just have share a common goal for the
I can tell you the CEOs of the tech companies that we work for, they hate what's going on when it comes to the theocracy, but they love the fact that they just let them do whatever they want. They love the fact that they are allowing them to do this race. And I understand the ambition because my moon is there, but I have restraint. They don't, because they have Rahu there. That's where the Anagarak comes in. That's where the ambition comes in. That's a Sanskrit term for like, it's like putting a demon in your chart that will win at all costs. They don't care what the repercussions are. They want to come first. And it doesn't work out in the end, but they don't understand that because they might be younger souls.
What's the Sanskrit term for lazy? I have no ambition at all. I do not understand. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that motivation that drives people. I can admire it when it doesn't go out of control, but this is out of control. You know, it's really bad. But, you know, they're now talking about, and this is not me being paranoid. This is running through the official how a bill becomes law type of situation. They're trying to make Sundays the holy day again. Like everything closed. You can't, and they want to make it that you are required to go to church.
Well, here's the thing about the Sabbath is Sabado, which is actually Saturday. Saturn Day in India, which is Saturday. That was the original Sabbath. If you look across cultures, they changed it to Sunday. Okay, whatever. But it was the day that you let all the workers off. They could do what they wanted. They could relax. I don't see them doing that. They're going to use it to control them and try to get their heads into
brainwashing.
What they're trying to enforce.
They're going to require church attendance.
They put the blinders on and they say, listen to this man, and he is going to tell you what to do every single week that you're at work. And if you don't listen to him, I say him because I don't see women being listened to.
Well, you saw what the Baptists just did yesterday. The Baptists just said no more women preachers, no more women pastors.
That's part of Saturn and Pisces. They're getting rid of the women spiritualists. They're silencing them. They don't like intuition. They don't like critical thinking. They don't like these things in place. I told Jonathan that if we'd ever managed to have children, which was impossible, that we would have moved to another country to raise them, just like Peter Thiel did, because we are living in a country that is becoming a theocratic. It's completely against everything the Bible teaches. I've read it back to front more times than I could count, because I don't know if you know my background. My priest was actually, sentenced, the whole thing. He was adopting children from other countries and raping them. And he was also raping boys that I grew up with. And he was never held to account. It was actually 2 years postpartum that they finally said, oh, we've held him to account, and he's been, no. And what was interesting was, in the town that I grew up in, I mean, this guy confirmed me. Like, I was born into this town when he, baptized. It was a whole thing. And so that's how I left the Catholic Church. It was like, this guy was just a rapist. He was raping kids left and right. And so I was told, oh, he fled to Canada. I go down and teach in a rural district in Eastern Pierce County, and I found out he's a priest there, and he's raping kids there too. So, I mean, it's like for some reason, the divine had me follow this guy. And there's articles about him. He was just excommunicated by the church. It was this whole thing. And it really let me in on what was going on in the Catholic Church. And so when I meet other people who were raised Catholic, confirmed Catholic, were part of this, huge, I went to Catholic school just like you. I asked them, did you know one? And they all say yes.
Oh,
not a single Catholic I know.
Story for you. I have a great story for you.
Okay.
Our parish, the pastor, the head of the parish, great pals with my father from Ireland, right? This is in Southern California. He married my husband and me. Right? He officiated, right? After I had left town, I found out he was accused of similar offenses, and he actually died before they could follow through on the process and put him in prison.
That's exactly
his assistant pastor, younger guy, charming guy, buried my grandmother, serving prison time right now. So 2 for 2.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, they were never held to account. And so I just went, I can't support this. I can't be a part of this. And so then I went, and I have a whole story. I tried every single Christian religion, including like the Pentecostals and evangelicals. I have
Did you handle snakes?
I was in the Death Star, just like Google, just like Microsoft. It's like, for some reason, the divine really wants me to see all of it. And so I got to see these like Machiavellian, narcissistic, we can do whatever we want personalities. And like we were talking about eclipses before the show, most of the leaders are eclipsed. My father was eclipsed, the man who raised me. And so people are like, how are you able to like predict what these people are going to do and how they behave? And I'm like, because they're eclipsed. What that means for the audience who hasn't watched our past shows, when someone gets eclipsed, their sun and their moon, which is their inner and their outer personality, gets compromised by demonic energy, and that takes over. And so you get to learn it's like Defense Against the Dark Arts. If you read Harry Potter, it's like a master's class in that. You can get into their brains, because if they're raising you, you've got to know everything about them, how they tick, what survival skills. It really is. And I think that's where a lot of my psychic gifts came from, especially at a young age, because if you didn't get out of the way, you got killed. I almost died during my divorce and getting away from my parents through the federal protection program that I was put in. It was that bad. And so I learned so much about demonic behavior, Machiavellianism, the dark triad, all of those things in therapy, because I would just explain these things to therapists and they'd be like, oh, whoa, you got to meet one of those? And it was like, I was like a study, and I'm thinking, okay, well, apparently I'm like a psychologist's dream, because I was in these scenarios where these people were able to get away with it. And I remember my husband's brother literally saying to me, he goes, I have never met anyone who's been around people with this many dark gifts. And he's not a religious man. And I just told him a few things. And then his brother was very well connected, especially in education, because he was an educator for many years. And I told him a few stories there. And he goes, I don't believe you. That can't happen. And I go, this is how it happened. This is how we did it. Look it up. And the next morning, he comes downstairs because we were staying at their house. And he goes, I called. I can't believe it. He goes, this is happening in the educational system. And this was before Donald Trump was elected and Betsy DeVos and all that other stuff happened.
Yeah.
And I said, they're going to collapse it. And this is going to happen. And then there's going to be like, and I talked about Margaret Atwood. I talked about Robert Heinlein. I talked about science fiction. And he just looked at me and went, I believe you, because I can see it happening behind the scenes. Because he wasn't just a teacher. He was a union representative. He worked in law, just like Jonathan did, and he could play an instrument known to man. He was a genius, just like my husband. My husband comes from a family of geniuses, and his brother's from NASA.
Oh, that can get annoying, can't it? Can that be pretty annoying? That could be annoying, can't it?
It can, yeah. But they all basically, I think that they kind of fry out toward the end of their lives because they all basically go with dementia.
They burn too brightly for too long.
They burn bright and then they go, and then we're here as their caretakers to kind of help them onto the next plane of empathy and things like that. So he's learning a lot of things spiritually and empathetically from me because I was a nurse, teacher, things like that. And I'm learning how to be more objective and intellectual from him. So it's kind of a balance that we have in our
that kind of service to provide end of life service like that is an enormous karmic growth opportunity.
It really is
enormous.
Yeah,
it takes I don't think people understand fully what it's like until they go through it themselves. It requires every fiber of patience and compassion and determination. I mean, it's very difficult. So, but does that mean that everybody you meet is a narcissist?
Technology, and that's how I keep track of him.
Oh,
he's got an air tag. He's got a badge in Spanish and English that I made on Canva. I mean,
so you talked about, that you had so many experiences with psychopaths and narcissists. Does that mean I'm a narcissist or a psychopath? Because we've met now, and so
no, because empaths and psychopaths attract like. It's like something's missing in them. There are several CEOs that were interviewed, and they highlighted a very important pattern. The most valuable people appear to be like deep into subject matters. Like they're so focused, they lose track of everything else. They're highly adaptable AI users, meaning. And my landlord was a little bit like this. He was brilliant, but he couldn't look you in the eye, things like that. These are individuals with exceptional human skills. Like my brother, my husband's brother, he worked for NASA. He was like Tesla smart. They said, we don't know how to integrate the equipment because he invented it. And my husband was actually part of the computer inventing age, both hardware and software. And so when you work with guys like this, and my husband has Jupiter and Rahu here. His Rahu is in tech. It governs, but Jupiter also governs teachers, mentors, advisors, philosophers, counselors, and spiritual guides. And so if we notice something there, these roles depend heavily on human judgment and not just information. And the distinction becomes increasingly important. So Jupiter's not going to visit Aquarius for a while, and that's when we're going to start to see some of the wisdom come in, because his cycle is 12 years and he just entered Cancer. It's going to be several years before we start to get like the brakes put on and people being held to account.
Well, they better I'm running out of time. They better hurry up.
I know. I mean, because these roles depend heavily on human judgment, not just information. And the distinction will become increasingly important. You're absolutely right, Helen. So, human experience is going to become a premium. So one of the most fascinating observations coming from business leaders is this: people still want human experiences, even if AI becomes capable, because humans, we crave connection. If you look at us from a body perspective, we're simian. We crave connection. We crave community. We need touch. We need belonging. I remember when I was taking psychology courses in college, that I watched a rhesus monkey series. And rhesus monkeys are like if you look at, and there was I think the one that starts with an M, the one that was on Friends. Maurice. So they did a bunch of studies on monkeys and their mothers. And what they did was they separated monkeys from the mothers and they fed them from a metal like
Oh, I know
contraption.
this. Oh,
Yeah.
this gives me
And then I know,
nightmares.
and then they
I
fed them
can't.
from a soft mother, like a not a real one, but like a stuffed animal. And then they had the control group was, monkeys that were actually raised by their mothers, being held, being touched, being part of human, being socialized with the other monkeys. They were part of a community, and they compared it. All of the metal monkeys died. The ones that were being like just all
Yeah, I
technologically
can't.
raised,
Yeah.
they all
Yeah.
died. I actually watched them. Like I watched the whole.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
know. I'm
La,
an
la, la.
aquarium. I can separate. I can separate. Okay. So this is a little trigger
I
warning for
can't
those that can't.
compartmentalize.
I know you had 6 children. I had none. There's a
Five.
reason I can handle this. So yeah. So humans, what it means is we need belonging. The ones that were socialized, they thrived, they lived longer, they did great. The ones that on the soft one, they had a lot of socialization problems, they had issues connecting. A lot of them didn't like live on to breed. And the ones that were raised by technology and the metal mother, they call it the metal mother, which was like basically this metal thing they all died. They all
Well, I
died.
think that's what's happening to kids now. I think that's why
Yeah.
teachers are having a problem because these kids are being handed a device every second
Yeah.
that they're
That's
on
the
board.
iPad.
Yeah.
They can't even grip because they're used to doing this. Is that's what my teacher friends are saying, and they can't
What is
critically
that?
think. So imagine that you're a child, like 2, 3 years old, and you are literally, it's over there, sweetie. You're literally just going this all the time to get things to work. You're just tapping.
Oh, like touching the screen.
But they're saying, a lot of my teacher friends, because I worked in every single grade because I was a substitute teacher for a couple of years before getting my full-time job. They're saying that kids are going like this to like, and so they don't know how to grip. They don't know how to use tools. They don't know how to pick things up. It's like things that as simians, like as we're advanced forms of that, can actually do. We can pick up things, we can create things, we can use those skills of we use our sensory organs in order to create.
Well,
And
fine neuromuscular skills have to
they
be
can't pick things up.
developed.
They can't even pick
Yeah.
forks up, knives up, pencils up. They're going like this all the time. Tap, 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 tap. It's all fingerprints. It's
Well,
all
it's when you see a toddler, you'll notice that their
they don't have the
toys
grip.
are really tools, and
Mhm.
they're larger, bigger. The crayons are fatter, and
Mhm.
the scissors are blunt and bigger.
Yes.
Bigger around because they're training their neuromuscular connections. If you don't make those neurons, there comes a
Yeah.
time past which you can't.
Well, and socialization is important too. I read a study on female chimpanzees, and during famines, they would take long sticks off of trees and put them inside of ant hills, and then pull the ants out and go and eat the ants. And then they would treat their babies to do that. So during famines, especially fruits and things that are in the environment for a regular chimpanzee family, they would use tools that they would find within the confines of their environment to adapt to the circumstances. And if you take that away from the human environment, you literally get kids doing this. They can't critically think, they can't pick up. We're getting worse than animals if you
Well,
don't.
the story of the chimpanzees with the ants and the sticks.
Yeah.
When my final daughter, the fifth one that I burned through, finally helped me set up, my YouTube channel. And she
Mhm.
said, God, you really, basically in kinder terms, she said, you're really ignorant, when it comes to computers. And I was
Mhm.
telling her, well, tell you my experience with them in the past is non-existent. I've never
Mhm.
worked in an office. I've had different kinds of jobs. I've always worked,
Mhm.
but I've
Yeah.
never worked in an office setting, and they didn't exist when I was in school. And I
Mhm.
somehow just managed to miss the opportunities, right? And she said, yeah, but Mom, it's painful to watch you. It's like watching chimpanzees pick up ants with sticks.
Oh, that's interesting. Is your daughter under 40?
No, just barely over 40.
Just barely. Okay, so she's my age. That's interesting.
She's
Okay.
40. How old is she? 40, 43?
Okay. Okay.
Born in
So
83, is that right? Did I do the math right?
yeah, you
Yeah.
did. I'm
Yeah.
83 too. So that's interesting that she said that because apparently that's from our generation.
I think it's
Depending on
hilarious. I repeat it all the time because I think it's very funny. I'm not offended at all. I understand exactly what she
But
means.
I
But there's
actually I can bridge the gap because I'm married to a boomer who is highly technological. So, and like my husband's going to be 76 this year, and he can understand AI better than most people, even though he has dementia. And so it just depends on who you're living with and what you're around. But I I empathize with you because you went from a very kind of analog, writing things down in day planners, calling people on the phone, exactly. You take notes. I take notes too. I have notebooks and I have iPads. I'm able to kind of bridge the gap, but there's something about writing things down that
right.
really helps it get up here because you're taking it from a kinesthetic level into that more
That's right.
cerebral level
It's
of
like I was saying earlier. It's about making that extra effort to simulate the learning, and so you
exactly.
can process it internally. And
Yeah.
that step has been skipped. And as a matter of fact, a
Mhm.
lot of highfalutin, privileged private schools are
Mhm.
now going back to papers and pens.
Because the kinesthetics is important.
They figured it
Kinesthetic,
out.
auditory, and visual, they're all important. And
Yep.
if you look at modern technology, it's all visual. But, and most people are visual, but you have to include the kinesthetic and the auditory. Otherwise, you're missing out on the full cerebral experience. And if you lose maybe that part of your brain as you get older, you lose that ability to move forward. So I would say, Helen, the fact that you are your age and you're still reading, you're still learning, you're still pushing this stuff out, tells me that you are able to do that because you had all of those experiences, because you see
Yeah.
the value in them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do see the value in it.
yeah.
And I get pleasure from it. I know for some people
Hmm.
it's more of a chore than it is a
Oh,
pleasure, but for me, I get pleasure from it. So, really quickly before we quit, the one thing that we didn't talk about was the AI surveillance state and how they're
hmm.
capturing all our personal data, and
Yes.
we're being reduced to a data set, but there's
Hmm.
no privacy. There will be, when they're done with us, there will be no privacy. It's
No.
already bad enough we're on camera and observation constantly, but now
Hmm.
they're actually using AI to count keystrokes of employees,
Hmm.
and when you're up from your desk and not at your device and
Hmm.
or on your phone, they're monitoring and using AI to assign schedules and assign jobs. There
Hmm.
just seems to be there's that lack of a sense of humanity. They're
Yeah.
not talking to somebody and saying, well, what do we need to get done today? And how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? That's no longer a consideration. It's all efficiency and productivity. But productivity for the small handful of people that still have a job. Let's see here. What else have I written down?
Hmm.
Oh, and it's harder to resist.
Hmm.
If you find yourself in an authoritarian dystopian
Hmm.
nightmare and you want to resist, you're being observed all the time. How do you do that? It's very difficult.
Well, so I have
What?
a degree in cybersecurity. I don't really worry because no one knows my full name, no one knows who I am, no one knows any of that. And I think I'm able to come online and do these things with you because no one knows who I am. Okay, so I mean, even my physical form has changed, thank God. But we have to become adaptable, Helen, because adaptation, we can develop these unique human skills. We can change our communication. We can have empathy for people that are going through this, leadership, teaching, relationship building, community creation. This is how we survive.
I have a
This,
lot of empathy for whoever it is who will be looking at this AI collection of information about me. It's going to be the most boring dossier they've ever looked at in their entire lives.
uh,
So,
yeah.
oh,
So I would say
another.
that, learning AI is important. Ignoring AI is not a strategy. You have to understand it. You have to use it. You have to master it. But it's a tool. So don't become dependent on it because we talked about what happens to kids when they become dependent on it. It's something that they're using it as a thing to do their thinking for them, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And then fourth, I would tell people, especially your younger audience, you need to create multiple income streams. This is how the Zennials, aka early millennials, survived. In the era of relying on one employer, it became increasingly unstable for us in that environment. I did this after losing my high school teaching job in 2010, and then I had a retail business, and that was attacked by crime. And then I got certified as an SEO consultant and Google Ads manager.
What's that?
So basically search engine optimization. So this was the beginning of the internet. I help small businesses get first on the page of Google and then maps and everything else. So I basically took their business, and when people were looking at their phones or on their laptops, they were able to find that business. Like if they were looking for a specific product, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the programming and all of that came in. And so customer service, automation, data management, web development, and later cybersecurity, which is what I worked in, became my bread and butter. Those are all gone because of AI. So I'm just like, let's go. Come on. Like I'm getting some kind of master's course here, Helen.
Every time you pick it, they pull the carpet out.
They pull the carpet out from under me.
Wow.
And so during COVID, I took 5 years off and I studied Vedic astrology classes. I earned my degree from Kamala Sutton. I've since attended and taught at various international conferences, clients all over the world, online Vedic consultations. Counseling is how I'm moving forward. And I use my previous experiences to build my brand. And so it's important that you strengthen your spiritual foundation at this time, because spirit is going to get just put under the rug. The external certainty that we're in is decreasing, and people are going to need something to hold on to.
Yeah. But no, I really see that. I really agree with that, because I've seen the direction that I'm being turned in. It's sort of out of my hands.
Yeah.
Every day something presents itself as like, okay, this is the next thing I should be interested in. And I'm being definitely led away from the world of politics and I'm being led into the world of philosophy and spirituality.
Your spiritual foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I figure, I do this because it interests me, and I hope that it will interest other people.
Because external certainty is decreasing. That's going to become more important. You're tapped right in.
Probably. But the big lesson that I've learned recently is that it's not our job to convince other people. It's just not our job. You can put that out there. You can talk all day long about Vedic astrology, but unless people are ready to hear it, it just goes over their heads. And being ready to hear something is not a place of superiority. It's just a place of readiness.
Yeah. That's why internal certainty must increase, because the external certainty has been so active for so long. People are being asked to go in as souls. Jonathan and I, we get up at 4 a.m. every morning to start our spiritual sadhana. We do mantras, we do japa, we do pranayama, we do reading and reflection on spiritual texts, we do meditation, and we also perform yoga asanas. We keep a light vegetarian diet. We try to live a simple life as we can. That's possible.
That doesn't sound very simple.
Well, it's the Vedic remedies that I've learned. They become a part of my daily lifestyle because of the positive impact they could have. Like you mentioned, the rug keeps getting taken out from under me. This is my way of trying to stay stable. So there are some Vedic remedies that we can do for the new age, and they are cross religion, because Vedic philosophy embraces all religions throughout the world, all philosophies. So teaching others, that's going to become a huge thing that we can do, because that's like the female chimpanzee putting the stick in to get the ant.
Yeah, but look at how they're replacing teachers.
I know, but it can't be replaced. I can tell you, as someone who worked as a teacher, you can't replace human to human interaction there.
Well, I agree with you.
You get kids that are going like this, studying sacred texts, keeping those things available. What I did is I kept a hard drive and I downloaded every single Vedic text that I could keep, just like Fahrenheit 451. And I've got a backup for the backup. Like I'm preparing for a digital apocalypse, and so I want to keep these texts alive.
That's why I can't get rid of my books.
That's me too, but I had to, and so I got all the digital copies and I put them on drives, and I have those, and I transfer them once something new comes out so that I can keep passing them on. And that's all about donating educational materials, reciting, mantras, prayers, things like that to keep you grounded, practicing gratitude. I also believe in stone therapy. I actually met with a client who said, hey, I've got this beautiful peridot from the valley of a very famous valley in the Himalayas to help with your husband's cognitive stuff. And I go, let's do it. It's coming, For Saturn, serving people who are older. When I was 15 years old, I decided to become an in-home nursing assistant. I was 19 and my first in-home client was 91. I left the carriage facilities, which were just horribly understaffed and overworked, and I didn't appreciate the profit over people aspect. So
hey, when I was 15,
yeah,
I worked in one for the summer.
yeah.
I was doing debreeding decubidae at the age of 15 with zero experience.
There you go.
And I often thought to myself, what do these people's relatives think's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I had an AA in nursing, so I did have some experience and I had training, but serving those who are on their way out, that's crucial. Clara was one of my first in-home clients, and I went to her house and she had this giant wall. I mean, it was over 14 feet long, top to bottom, 12-foot ceilings of books. And of course, I'm an English major. I'm Mrigashira. I'm just like, oh, study. And so she's like, pull one of them off the shelf. And it was one of Shakespeare's sonnets. And I opened it up and I started reading the sonnet. And she goes, and she finished the whole thing.
Oh my God.
And she's 91 years old. And the thing is, she was not ambulatory. I was doing everything for her. I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was taking her to the bathroom, I was cleaning her, I was watching her at night. But she could, every single book she had memorized. Every single book. She's part of the greatest generation. She survived World War II. And so I learned so much from her. And she had lions all over her house. And in Western astrology, I'm a Leo. And so she's like, when were you born? And I told her, and she goes, there's only one queen in this house. And I'm like, and I clean your throne every day, dear. So we got along great. And I became an English teacher, because of her and a couple of other people that just really I fell in love with. So spending time with people who are older, who have all of this knowledge and understanding is so important for the growth and development of humanity. Performing volunteer work, they call that volunteer work. I loved it. Feeding people that don't have enough to eat, that's another one. Developing a lot of discipline, honoring our commitments with one another, because I'm realizing that I believe that the world is being hit with this sloth element, this I don't care kind of element.
Well, it happens to be one of my favorite deadly sins.
Oh my goodness.
My
God, sloth. He is not great. I'm not a fan of him. I have a strong Mars, and so I'm just like, argh. But reciting Saturn's mantras, wearing our gemstones, like for Saturn, it's a blue sapphire, for example. But for Rahu, it's really important that we reduce our digital addictions. It's important to stay on top of it, but not allow ourselves to become immersed in it. Use it as a tool, not as a replacement.
Crutch, yeah.
Practicing discernment, like the old school types of discernment. And that's why it's important for us to spend time around people that have had to develop that over their lifetimes, and who have, just because someone's older doesn't mean that they're intelligent or know what they're doing. I've been around that. But there are a lot of people that have done the work.
Yeah.
And you can verify that. Avoid any fear-based thinking, because that's just going to hold you back. Reciting, mantras or prayers that really matter to you. For Rahu, for example, it's Durga. And then for Ketu, that's our past life planet, doing meditation, doing spiritual study, non-attachment practices. We call that Vairagya in Sanskrit. Time in nature is huge, because they're starting to attack nature. Like you said, they're going after the parks. Reciting Ganesha's mantra, or mantras that are linked to, because Ganesha represents the yakshas, or the nature deities.
Is Ganesha the elephant?
Yeah, so he represents the yakshas, the nature deities. The Celtics and Druids were huge on that. So these remedies, they can help us align with the highest expression of those planetary energies. I've got a whole list of things that I give to clients when they come to me, and I can kind of see the weaknesses, but then I really exemplify the strengths and how they can keep their, it's kind of like when you go into a chiropractor, you look at all of the vertebrae and you say, this one and this one needs a little adjustment, but these ones are keeping you upright.
Yeah. No,
You're
no, no.
identifying.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what's the final conclusion? It seems to me what you're saying is use it as a tool, but don't become addicted to it as a crutch.
Yeah. So I believe we're standing at the threshold of a civilizational turning point,
It's a
Helen. I
paradigm
mean,
shift. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some people, they only see danger, others only see opportunity. So both perspectives are incomplete. And so
yeah,
every transition, they create winners and they create losers, growth and destruction, birth and death.
yeah,
And the planet suggests that we're not simply witnessing like this technological revolution. We are witnessing a transformation in humanity's relationship with work, with identity, with
yeah,
purpose, and with meaning. And the old world is fading. You can feel it, I can feel it,
yeah,
and this new world is emerging. So the question each of us must answer is this: it's how do we evolve with it? I mean, the Bhagavad Gita, it's an ancient
yeah,
text. It reminds us that our duty is not to control the outcome. Our duty is to act wisely, act courageously, act with integrity. It's called Dharma. And the future belongs not merely to those who master technology, yay, it belongs to those who master themselves. And so that's the best message I can give. And I'm hoping it resonated with your audience, and I'm just so glad to be here.
No, I agree with you. I get accused of being phobic about it.
Hmm.
And there's a subtlety there to my attitude. It's,
Yeah.
yes, I have a fear because I see it playing out. So it's
Hmm.
realistic. And
Yeah.
my fear is that we're trading our humanity for ease
Mm.
and greed. And so I always feel obligated to push back and
Hmm.
remind people, so what if you didn't have to work on your essay or make your outline or do your notes or collate your
Hmm.
papers, whatever? So what if you're brain dead? If you're not using your head, if
Mm.
you're not making decisions from a place of empathy, if you're not utilizing humanity that you've been given. And I'm going to close this out by saying I think the Pope is right.
Hmm.
I really do. I think that we have to be so cautious about trading our humanity for ease and luxury and money and comfort.
Hmm. And I will give you this hope. The younger generations, because we talked about this, we were following their TikToks, especially, Gen Zs and some of the older Gen Alphas. They're already showing signs of rejecting this like excessive digital engagement. They're
Mm,
running clubs, they're running community groups, wellness communities, spiritual gatherings, and in-person like experiences because their soul cannot be fed by the algorithms.
that's
Uh,
right.
Souls require connection.
Yep.
And AI, as it becomes more capable, authentic human interaction is going to become more valuable than before. So that's the hope here.
Well, and I'm here to tell you there is no humor in the algorithm. I've gotten in trouble for cracking jokes because there's no irony, and they think that
Mhm.
everything that you say is serious. And
Mm.
then, they're jumping on they being,
Mm.
the YouTube police. If I get back in YouTube jail, will you put money in my commissary?
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. It's been so interesting, Michelle. Every time we talk, it's just so interesting. And I love to get
Mm.
this perspective that I wouldn't ordinarily have.
Mm.
Because I
Well,
know zero about Vedic astrology.
oh, well, I mean, it's always an honor to be here. I love speaking with you. I mean, I think that we all need to come together. Of course, there's ambulances going on as I say this in the background, but
Well,
you know,
alert,
I
alert.
the stars, they illuminate our path, but we get to make decisions on how we move forward. And if we're going to navigate this new age, we need to do it with courage, purpose, and grace. And you're part of that. And we need to come together as a species. Otherwise, we're going to lose that beautiful humanity to some of the so-called algorithms that are trying to take over based on the current oligarchy. But know that this is just passing, and that there will be a resistance that's met, because this is called Mrityaloka. It's the plane of opposites. And so with each retaliation comes a pushback.
Right.
And
Well,
so
it's that law of what is it, law of polarity. What
Mhm.
goes all the way to one direction is going to swing back all the way to the other direction. It's
We're
the
a magnetic
pendulum.
plane. We're a
Mhm.
gravitational
Yeah.
plane. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, people really enjoy hearing from you, and I appreciate you coming and joining us for this insight into the topic. I already have another topic of conversation for next time. I'll tell you
Yay.
later. Okay, don't go away. I'll tell you about it. So, thank
Okay.
you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Don't stay up all night worrying about AI. It's not worth your effort. So, we'll be back. Thanks for watching Slongafoil. Slancha. Thank you, Michelle.
Shanti.